first met Dean in New York, I was a young writer trying to take off. With the coming of Dean Moriarty began the part of my life you could call my life on the road.
Getting to know the poets of the generation that Kerouac was from, the Beat generation, was fundamental. This was a 5 years research, intermittently, but yet a 5 years effort. And it ultimately informed the kind of structure that we should have. We learned a lot from, again, the real-life characters, but we also realized, that the book couldn't be transformed into a classical, 3-act piece structure like you have in most traditional narratives. And on the opposite, it had to be built in layers in a very impressionistic manner. Now, every one of these layers had to bring a different quality.
I've been involved with adaptations before, and sometimes I can be very obsessive with lines. You get very attached to things when you read a book, and you want it to come across in the film. And I think the most true way to do this was to forget it and really stumble upon those lines. And the moments need to be found naturally. It's strange. It's Kerouac's writing style obviously is very much like jazz. It moves, it bounces, it breathes. You don't really know where it's going. And we were able to spend 4 weeks learning everything we possibly could, and basically to the point where we could forget it and try to find it naturally. And the movie also doesn't, the structure is so, it doesn't have a structure. There's no beginning, middle, it is a journey. And I think if we were too scared, or if Walter was scared of people's reactions, people are very used to seeing the same thing, and I'm so glad that he did not conform to that. It really breathes.
I wish Dean wasn't so crazy now.
You'll be wishing that the rest of your life.
I just want a house. Baby. Something normal.
He set out to not necessarily fit every scene from the book into a film. Maybe some of the purists might be a little upset that one of their favorite characters didn't make it. We might well have shot it, but I had the feeling we must have shot about 5 hours worth of material. But he wanted also to capture something of that spirit. So it was very fast and loose a lot of the time. It was a low-budget film, so you have to be on your toes. And there would be days when, in theory, it was a day off, but there were very few of those, actually, because it was a full program of trying to learn or improve typewriting techniques and things like that, or it was suddenly better weather on the Sunday than it had been on the Thursday. And some of my favourite moments in the movie are actually these sort of happy accidents.
Well, look who's at my doorstep, old Chad King. How's it going, cowboy? I'm Sal.
Sal. Strong grip.
Yes. Sal and Carlo, the writer pals.
It's about really kind of understanding the material. I mean, the pressure that I'd had was more self-imposed because I was such a fan of it, and my feelings towards this person, Neil Cassidy, and sort of how iconic I felt he was. I felt very privileged to be able to portray him, and it was more about trying to research as much as I could to be able to find, this a soul within, the material that I had. I'd had his book, The First Third, which I'd read multiple times. I mean, we have On the Road. There's materials in other sources, like Visions of Cody, where you can get, Jack's book, which is, he's Cody Pomeranian. You can see another side of him within that. But then there's the Book of Letters, which are very personal. And when you have a 250-page book of somebody's letters that they've written to so many different people, you get such a sense of a character.
this is a jazz-infused narrative, so improvisation is at the heart of this book. And the cult of the spontaneous is also absolutely important. So with the help of the actors who brought a lot of additional material, with the help of whatever we would find on the road, we would transform, you know, the filmic material on a day-by-day basis. If it rains, incorporate the rain. If it snows, incorporate the snows. Work with the elements and not against the elements. But also have an eye for what's on the margins of the road, because it sometimes is way more interesting than what's on the very center of the road.
Appreciate the lift.
Might be your last. Great dynamite.
You're looking for that toe? They amputated it this morning.
You can't smoke, but you can't drink in this car.
We were allowed to know things about these people in reality that most people just don't know, and I think it really humanizes Mary Lou. It makes her much more of a whole character in the book. I think it's kind of in the movie rather than the book. It's a mixture between what happened in real life and the scroll and the novel, and I think that there's a very hefty link between the two boys. They can love each other truly because of her. There is something, you know, it's a grand statement. I know that it's a lot to say, but I do believe it, and we came to realize that all together. And I think that we would both, all of us, we would jump right off this building for each other, and I think it shows.
To the old man.
Yeah. To the good, old, dead, demented men we love.
All of these characters, they live everything on the flesh and not vicariously. They try to redefine a future in a moment where everybody tells you that this is not possible anymore. And they also lived in a moment where the culture of fear was very present. And we've been through all of those elements very recently. So the book has somehow acquired a synchronicity with the present times that is quite striking.
I think when you really know you've worked with someone great is when you've been led to this place and you suddenly find yourself sort of trying to you can kind of you feel like you've discovered it together, yet there's no way. He was so aware of what he was doing. Do you know what I mean? It's like you look up and go, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Do you know what I mean? And also just his ability to bring a group of people together. He chooses well. Like and then he lets things breathe. I mean, he believes in the spirit of this book, and that is what it felt like on set. Even though he's very diligent initially, and he knows everything there is to know. I mean, in terms of research, this guy is OCD obsessed, crazy, and forced that upon us, not unwillingly. But then he was able to also do the opposite, because when we shot, it wasn't about that at all. He was able to completely let us just go.
Walter's just, I mean, I really don't have enough words to express what I feel about him, because I truly feel he's the best, and I'm so honored to be a part of this film, and, so honored to work with him, and I wish we could do every film together. He's just, to me...
Raise our glasses. Being alive, to living, and to life.